Rocks. What kind of meaning can rocks even have? Geology is interesting, but can it really be so important to a country's history, culture, and society? I was skeptical. As I learned about Iceland and its geology, I began to be surprised at every turn. Iceland is a unique country that lies just south of the Arctic Circle, and it carries with it a rich history and culture. The island is also filled with striking geological formations that form due to the rare combination of a geological hotspot and a divergent plate boundary. With such an unusual set of geological structures, the history and culture of the nation was bound to be intertwined with its environment. However, I didn't expect the nation's government to have been formed directly in the center of it all. Iceland hosts one of the oldest parliaments in the world, named Althing. The group began meeting in what is now known as Thingvellir National Park, around 25 miles east of the capital city, Reykjavik. They met here for hundreds of years, even after losing legislative power. While unknown to them at the time, their meeting spot is in the middle of the Rift Valley. A rift valley is formed by two tectonic plates moving apart from each other. In Iceland's case, that's the North American plate and the Eurasian plate.
Geologically, we are located in the middle of the Rift Valley. So this is where the Earth's crust is spreading and the new crust comes to the surface as volcanic rocks. This is where the democracy was established on Iceland on year 930. Amazing. So many years ago. This free society existed between 930 and 1252.
During the Althing meetings, Icelanders would vote on laws and regulations.
There was a reason why they have chosen here, because it needed to meet two requirements. It needed to be big enough for thousands of people, and secondly, land that is big enough to gather 1,000 people near Reykjavik would cost a lot of money. So they needed to move far away from Reykjavik so that the value of land is pretty low. So they purchased the land for the government to organize the Althingi meetings.
The Rift Valley plays a role in their history more due to coincidence compared to a conscious choice. The environment provided a place for them to meet, but it was picked by chance, not because of the geological nature of the area. And yet, the importance of Iceland's rocks only grows deeper. For example, the Icelandic people's folklore. The Huldafolk, or hidden people, are a type of elf in Icelandic folklore. The elves live in a parallel world within the folklore and can make themselves seen at their own will, although they often choose to stay hidden. They make their homes in Iceland's many rocks, lava fields, and hills all across the island. Surveys have been done on the population of Iceland about the Huldafolk, and many citizens say they believe in the elves to some degree or another. Trolls are also present in Icelandic folklore. The Reynsdunha are a set of basalt sea stacks near the town of Vik on the southern side of Iceland. One legend says that the sea stacks formed when two trolls attempted to drag a ship to shore but were unable to make it before daybreak. As a consequence, the trolls turned to stone and created the sea stacks. Trolls are also said to live within Iceland's many lava tube caves.
This is where Icelanders don't like to come. It's dark and it's cold. We are in a lava tube in the underground portion of Icelandic landscape. The Icelanders don't like to come here because this is where the trolls live. They are typically stubborn. Some people say that they are stupid. They are sort of aggressive, so if you see them, just make sure that you don't upset them. When we walk down here in a lava tube, we have seen a skeleton. We didn't examine it, and it was just too scary to do that. A lot of people that decided to explore underground world on Iceland never came back home. It's just too dangerous. It's just not a very smart thing to play with the trolls.
The caves were cold, wet, dark, and a little bit scary. I even managed to film a troll crawling through the caves while I was there. I'd never expected that a simple cave could be so important to a culture's folklore, but once again, Iceland surprised me. The lava tube caves form as a result of the volcanic eruptions that occur all over the island.
And these form kind of like the way rivers freeze, so the edges will start to cool, and as soon as they meet to the very middle, the lava in the center becomes superheated because it's insulated. Basalt's insulating. So it sits there. And as it sits there, it has nowhere to go. So it'll go down in fairly round shape. And it'll slowly move through its own tube that it's forming, basically. And that moving down will cause thermal erosion. And it will still be superheated as it flows. So that's how you get these big domes.
Before going to Iceland, volcanoes to me were things in history books and science classes. The volcanoes near me have always been inactive and ancient, but for the Icelandic people, volcanoes are their neighbors, and an explosive one at that. The island's geography causes many volcanoes to form with varying levels of activity. Because of this, there are many impactful eruptions in Iceland's history. One such eruption took place in January 1973 on Heimaey, an island just off the coast of Iceland. The eruption began in the early morning hours and an emergency evacuation took place to save the island's residents. Only one person died due to the incident. The eruption lasted until July of the same year. When residents were allowed to return, some came back to destroyed homes and the rest came home to a city covered in volcanic ash. A museum now lies within the town to commemorate and educate about the disaster. I had the opportunity to go to this museum to learn about the eruption and experience their audio-guided tour through the disaster, with sound effects, interviews, and narration pulling me into the stories of those affected. The exhibit nearly brought me to tears. Hearing how the community rallied together to rebuild their home was proof of the Icelandic people's resilience in the face of an environment that could erupt at any moment. A less severe but more modern example of the impacts the island can have on its residents lies with the town of Grindavik. The town lies near a volcanically active area of the island, and as a result, it's been evacuated multiple times over the past few years. The most recent of these evacuations took place on July 16, 2025, just a few months after the evacuation before that in April of 2025.
We're here in the area of Grindavik, and behind me you see a cone volcano that stopped actively flowing around 2 weeks ago. This type of volcano creates kind of a chaotic flow, as you can see behind me. It's not smooth or ropey or anything. And what causes that is the type of volcano that it is and how it forms underneath the surface with its volatiles like water, its minerals, and then the temperature and pressure. And when that all combines and builds up, then it can create this high energy event where it then erupts over the Earth's surface, and then that's how we have lava flows.
These massive lava flows can destroy infrastructure, homes, and disrupt the lives of the residents nearby. Even with the danger the volcanic environment can produce, the Icelandic people have started to use the geothermal properties of the island to their advantage. Geothermal heating has been a part of Iceland's history for hundreds of years, but in the last few decades, its use as a power source has dramatically increased. As a response to an energy crisis in the 1970s, the Icelandic government started pushing for the use of geothermal energy as a heating and power source across the nation.
Here at this plant, they produce about 75% of the power needed for Iceland, the Reykjavik area. 30% of Iceland's electricity comes from geothermal plants. 90% of the hot water that they use daily comes from geothermal plants. The other 10% comes from electricity in other areas where it's a little bit too remote for geothermal to reach them.
Iceland's unique environment allows them to utilize geothermal power to help advance their society, and maybe that's something we can all learn a little bit from. The Icelandic people are intertwined with the environment around them. It's in their history, it's in their culture, and it's in their modern technological wonders. If we can cultivate an interest in the world around us, then maybe we'll find a fun story, a deeper history, or maybe even the next technological breakthrough. I never expected Iceland to be so intertwined with its geology, but I'm happy that I was proven wrong.